All right, we're back on the main channel today. I don't feel like anything is super hard hitting that I'm going to talk about, so I feel like it's safe for the main channel. This is my baby. I got to protect it. This is a source of income. So I find myself in a situation where I need to safeguard this channel. Y'all get it. You get the whole spiel. But let me take this time while I'm on this main channel to remind everybody watching to subscribe to my backup channel, my second channel. I figured out the Mike Nificent 813 search. So it doesn't matter if you put a space bar or not. If you just search Mike Nificent 813 with or without spaces, it will pop up the second channel. You need to make sure that you are subscribed to that backup channel and make sure that you hit the bell notification so that you will not miss a live stream. Because yesterday we were live over there. I think the past 2 days we were live over there just to be on the safe side. So make sure that you're subbed to both channels. That way, no matter which channel I go live on, you're good to go. That's simple. All right. So make sure that you do that. All right. Now we got that out of the way. I feel like this is safe. The reason why I feel like what I'm talking about today is so safe is because, YouTube, they don't care that Biden is a creep. I mean, they probably think it's cool. I mean, they have no problem with it. Nobody who supports Biden has a problem. Apparently not. I mean, not to the point where they would say anything. Nobody has a problem with him being a complete creep. So, they don't care that he is now creeped on yet another woman. I mean, this right here, I mean, these optics, we've been over this thousands of times. This is just par for the course for Hunter Biden's daddy. He's just an awful human. I mean, this is creepy. I mean, we're in a pandemic. I thought. I can't without me, going too far down the talking about the situation, the 2020 situation that has inevitably changed our world. This doesn't look like social distancing. This doesn't look healthy for numerous reasons, which, a majority of those reasons pre-existed the 2020 sickness. But yeah, these optics, get a load of these optics from Hunter Biden's dad. Doesn't look like he's looking her in the eye. You can't really tell much about the photo other than it's wildly inappropriate. And yet here we find ourselves with this occupant of the White House just being a disgusting creep. And what's funny about it, people love to deny that's just one photo. Well, if you type in, do it right now, creepy Biden, and you just, mosey on over to images, you've got all kinds of just compilation photos of the man creeping on little boys, little girls, older women, babies, you name it. This is who he is. But, I don't want to spend too much time about it. This was more of just to get something sensational in the headline. Like, oh, Biden creeps again. But there's nothing more to it other than he creeped on a woman at the congressional baseball game yesterday. But listen to this ovation he got, guys. This is how you know he is the most popular president in U.S. history. He is just a household name. Everybody loves him. Here's the proof. He got 81 million votes.
Joe, you suck!
Now, you know what's interesting about this? For them to say Trump was wildly unpopular, nobody liked him, people couldn't stand Trump. How come you didn't have F Trump chants every Saturday at college football games, at concerts? You would think that would be the case. I mean, there were protests outside of his rallies and events, but those were small crowds. But for the most part, wherever he went, and to this very day, he's greeted with love and enthusiasm by random people. They'll put signs out. They'll even cut Trump in their front yards because they think he's going to fly over and see it. So I'm just saying, where is that love for Biden? I never see it. I get it. He's the most popular man in U.S. history, and that's why he flipped Georgia and flipped Arizona, two solid red states. He flipped them. Now they're blue because he's just so popular. You can't find his fans anywhere, especially now. You don't see any Build Back Better. Matter of fact, when I go around my neighborhood on a bike, I bike around my neighborhood, I see more signs that say F Biden, impeach Biden, or don't blame me, I voted for Trump. That's what I see in my neighborhood. So where are Biden's voters? I find a hard time believing that he really got all these votes. You guys know I'm joking right now, but he's the most popular man in U.S. history, and yet all I see every week, almost as if it's the new national anthem, is F Joe Biden chants, boos, gets heckled, gets trolled everywhere he goes. It's all music to my ears. Music to my ears. So yeah, that's an interesting thing right there. But this man is a creep, you guys, creep. And we're just supposed to pretend like, hey, this is just normal. It's just Joe being Joe, just creepy grandpa over there, just getting all up in a woman's business like that. On TV, like, does he not know? Like, where are his handlers? I know Obama may be pulling the strings from his basement in his sweats, like he said he wanted to do. But did he sign off on this? I feel like Obama's a little bit more socially competent than Biden. You don't really see videos or pictures of Obama creeping. Say what you want about Obama, but he was more charismatic, more, I don't know, likable, unless personality wise, he wasn't really like, I don't know. This right here is I'm just disgusted by it. I just can't believe that this is the guy that they're propping up and telling us 181 million votes. Anyway, moving along. Let's talk about the CDC. The CDC is going to, exit their lane of, Centers for Disease Control. That's their forte. That's their wheelhouse. Now they want to dabble in gun confiscation. That's what this headline really is about. CDC implements study on true toll of guns in America to help identify trends and craft swift interventions. So this is a statement from Rochelle Walensky. We're not going to get into anything else that she has said or done because I could get banned for it. But now that she's talking gun control, I mean, that's a safe topic for YouTube. Gun control, creepy Joe Biden, all those things are okay to talk about on this platform. So I'm going to do it. Her statement is, I swore to the president and to this country that I would protect your health. This is clearly one of those moments, one of those issues that is harming America's health. So gun violence is harming America's health. It's a national health emergency, apparently. They're studying gun violence, and once all the data is gathered, the agency will help doctors craft swift interventions. Okay, first and foremost, it's not a national emergency. It's not a national health crisis. It is a regional health emergency, and it's a crisis, no doubt. It is a Democrat-controlled city health emergency, no doubt. Chicago, St. Louis, Philadelphia, etc., Washington, D.C., where homicides are just on every street corner, like Starbucks and McDonald's, just everywhere. That's where the health emergency lies. So Rochelle Walensky and the CDC overstepping their authority. These are unelected bureaucrats, by the way. These are people that were just appointed, and they outlast every president unless they get, fired or whatever. They step down, retire. They're not elected, and yet they seem to grow increasingly more powerful. You saw them step in and issue that eviction moratorium, going around the Supreme Court to issue this eviction moratorium, extend it, tell landlords they're not allowed to evict people. I thought their job was diseases. I thought they were talking about infectious diseases. I thought they were studying stuff at the CDC up there in Atlanta, but apparently they're engaging in the business of telling people how to run their business. And now they have this weird interest in what I think is going to be gun confiscation. Because is there really such thing as gun violence, or is it violent people who use a gun as their choice, their weapon of choice? I mean, we don't even need to get into what's happened in the UK. Knifings are on the rise there. At one point, they had a ban on how many knives you could buy at the store. So it's not. I know I'm preached to the choir as far the first time in nearly a quarter century, are funding new research on guns to help reduce firearm related injuries, deaths, crime, and suicides. So, research on guns. I mean, I own a couple firearms, and if they want to research those, I mean, you could sit it on a table, look at it, examine it, weigh it, but that's all you're going to get as far as research on it. So I don't know how you're going to research guns. I mean, if you want to do research on who's committing the crimes, who's doing the shootings, I mean, 9 times out of 10, you're going to find that it is an illegally obtained firearm, and that the person using that firearm, depending on what city they're in, may have a judge or a prosecutor that is soft on crime and they're back on the streets. For example, Minneapolis, where the same guy was able to commit 2 mass shootings in back-to-back years because he was released from prison early. So the second mass shooting, he actually took 2 lives. So if the CDC really wants to get into the weeds, if they really want to wade into these waters, they can do the research right there in Minneapolis and Chicago, Milwaukee. That's a good place to start right there. Those 3 cities where crime is just through the roof, where the police have been defunded. I mean, Democrat policies are a health emergency to the United States, because if you look at those cities, they're not safe to live in. I mean, they've already got strict gun laws in place. And I'm sure it's not just a coincidence that when you have strict gun laws, you have more what they're calling gun violence. You have more homicides, of course. You have more shootings. Definitely that. Because as it turns out, I know it's hard to believe, as it turns out, criminals who have the intention of murdering other people aren't going to necessarily follow a law that says you're not allowed to own a firearm. That's just a hunch. I just don't think that a criminal with the intent to kill someone is going to follow a law that says you're not allowed to own a firearm. Please don't come in here with your firearm. This is a gun safe zone. This is a gun-free zone. Nothing says soft target, like putting up a sign saying, hey, no one in this building is armed. Nobody. No guns in here. No guns allowed. It's a criminal empowerment zone. So if the CDC wants to do any research on this, go right to these Democrat strongholds where gun violence is through the roof, where mayors like Lori Lightfoot are going to take gangbangers to court, apparently, and sue gangbangers for shooting. San Francisco, another Democrat-controlled hell on earth city, they're talking about paying people not to shoot. So this feels to me like it's just going to be a gun-grabbing free-for-all. CDC wants to get in on it, find some research. What kind of mental gymnastics are you going to do to justify passing a national gun confiscation law? I mean, you see they banned bump stocks, and now they're going after the red flag laws again. They're going to continue eroding the cliff of the Second Amendment. And now the Centers for Disease Control wants in on it. They're like, let us get in on this fun. And then they say they will allow doctors and epidemiologists to potentially identify trends and craft swift interventions as they have done to contain the COOF and other national health emergencies. So it's just in line with the COOF. It's just like studying a virus. That's what it is. It's guns and virus are basically the same thing. What kind of swift intervention are you going to provide for gun violence in some of our cities? I don't get it. Maybe you could refund the police. Maybe you could not have such hostile rhetoric towards law enforcement, because arrests are on the decline, criminals are on the rise. I just think it's hilarious that Rochelle Walensky and the CDC think that they know what's best for gun owners in this country. And that's what it's all about. And they'll probably cherry pick and try to find some stats to say white supremacist shootings are on the rise, actually. And if you look at mass shootings, there's no way that they won't do this. They'll go beyond their scope to find data that will support their agenda to come after guns. And usually, guys, I'm not a big fan of talking about, like, fear mongering about they're coming for your guns, they're going to take your guns. Because, I mean, if you're a gun owner, You shouldn't be complaining about someone coming to take your guns. If someone's coming to take your guns and you're a gun owner, why are you a gun owner? That's all I can say about it, you know. Anyway, moving on. Janet Yellen says the U.S. could run out of cash to pay its bills in less than 3 weeks. So by October 18th, if we don't raise the debt ceiling, the U.S. is going to be short on cash to pay its bills. Now, for whatever reason, I haven't talked about this before, but for whatever reason, I don't know why conservatives split hairs over this, and this is such a like hot button issue. But when you talk about Israel and the money that we give them every year, some people, and I know there's probably some people right now that are going to say, Mike, you better not utter anything anti-Semitic because you're not allowed to criticize Israel. You're just not. I mean, for whatever reason, you cannot say anything bad about it, or you're automatically Ilhan Omar's friend if you do. But why are we funding their Iron Dome defense? I just don't get it. I can't be the only person right now that feels that way. I have nothing against Israel. I never talk about Israel. I'm not a raging anti-Semite. I don't care. I just care about this country first. It's not that I don't want to take care and help other countries, but we need to take care of our own first. So they're over there talking about how we're going to run out of money when we're over there funding not just Israel. I don't want to just pick on Israel, but that's one of the first things that comes to mind because don't they have like the second strongest military in the world? Don't they have a robust economy? Don't they have money to fund their own defense? Why are we funding their Iron Dome defense? And then obviously other stupid things that we waste money on every year, taxpayer money, lizards on treadmills and stupid stuff. I think there's a website where you can see all the ridiculous things that our tax dollars go towards. And you're like, what is this is like ridiculous. There's so many things that we spend money on. But when you talk about foreign aid to other countries, why do we give all this money to not just Israel, Saudi Arabia, I think Pakistan? We funded gender studies in some Middle Eastern country. I can't remember which one it was. We give all this money to Haiti, Nicaragua, countries in Central and South America. The money never, ever makes it to the people it's intended for. We're just basically funding corruption around the world. It's subsidizing corruption, funding status quo in other countries. You never see our foreign aid go to a country and it actually repairs whatever is done there, because you can't really just throw money at a problem and fix it. But the U.S. government apparently thinks that you can. And so, oh my gosh, we're going to run out of money in 3 weeks unless we raise the debt ceiling. This is ridiculous. And both parties are responsible for this. Both parties have led us to this point. And that's why we have ridiculous inflation, like the Dollar Tree now, breaking the $1 barrier as costs take a bite. So Dollar Tree is actually the only dollar store where literally everything in the store is $1. It's not false advertisement like Family Dollar, Dollar General, where you go in there and some of the products are not expensive, but more than $1. But Dollar Tree was actually true to their name, dollar. Everything was $1. But now that the costs have taken a hike, they are going to raise the price of some of their goods and I think bring in stuff that actually costs more than $1. And this is because inflation, annual inflation, has reached 4.2% since July, and that's the highest in 3 decades. So we're already taxed to the brim. We have rising costs of goods, costs of labor shortages, food shortages, Biden inflation. That's what I call it, Biden inflation. Remember how I said that, now that Biden's in there, it's not all his fault. It's Congress and whatever. There's all this nuance now for the people that do actually defend Biden. But when Trump was in there, look at all of this. This is all Trump's fault. Everything falls on him. But now it's Biden. It's like, no, there's actually more to it. You're not doing the research. Funny how that works. But man, I'm just saying, I'm not an anti-Semite. I'm just saying, why are we spending money on Israel when they can take care of themselves? Why are we funding? And this is a good thing that Trump brought up too. Spending all that money on Was it NATO? I think it was NATO. We're spending a lot of money. The trade deals are messed up. The people that are running this country from Washington, D.C. are doing a horrible job at securing America's future. A lot of them we know are bought out. They're bought and paid for politicians, bought out by the highest bidder, whether it's Big Pharma, whether it's China, whether it's Wall Street, Big Tech, Silicon Valley. They're bought off by lobbyists, special interest groups, super PACs. They're bought off. The few honest ones in there have spoken out and criticized it. I mean, it's just a weird situation where they're talking about we're about to run out of money, but we're over there spending money on stuff we don't need to. So we need to raise the debt ceiling so we can continue spending irresponsibly. Anyway, Central America official, we tried to warn Biden admin about Haitian migrants. Now an even bigger surge is coming. Yes, this is true. 40,000 Haitian migrants are in Mexico and bound for the U.S. border. So it took me a while to confirm this, but I just saw Breitbart because I heard about it this morning, but I couldn't find any sources on it. And now it just sounded like rumors, but Breitbart released an article saying that 40,000 Haitian migrants are now moving through Mexico to the southern border. So they're going to go right to Texas, apparently because we let in so many of the last caravan. And I heard the number was higher than this. I heard it was 60,000, but apparently it's just 40,000. But that's still, I hate saying just 40,000. That's a huge number of people. And who knows if they'll all get here at once. I'm telling you, this is orchestrated. 40,000 people all coming at once, coming in a caravan. I covered this last week. This welcome.us effort aimed at Americans to get us on board, make us just understand why this is so necessary, why we need to let in low-skilled economic migrants into the country, and how that makes us better because diversity is our strength. And we just need to pay the cost. Again, I just talked about inflation and labor shortage and all that. But hey, let's bring in 40,000 Haitian migrants. Let's bring in anybody from around the world. While politicians beat the welfare drum, come on up, we'll take care of you. The American taxpayer is going to suffer for it, but let's go ahead and do it. And so they're all going to come up to Texas and try to cross the border illegally right there on the Rio Grande, the shallow part. There's going to cross over. They'll probably go to the exact same spot because we are so weak on the border. So, I mean, at some point you have to stop complaining about what's happening at the federal level. Like, oh, Texas is upset that they're not getting enough support. FEMA denies Governor Greg Abbott's request for emergency declaration over border crisis. Okay, how long have you known that you weren't going to get any help from the federal government? It's the federal government that's attracting these migrants. These are not refugees. They're migrants. They're just trying to upgrade. So that makes me even less sympathetic to the cause of coming across the border. It's not like they're literally fleeing persecution. They're not fleeing anything. They're actually just leaving countries that they feel are not as good as the United States. And they're correct in that. We're the best country on earth. That's why they want to come here. You know, when I was at the Trump rally in Perry, Georgia, a correspondent for another network, he actually had a huge stack of Haitian ID cards and passports which shows and proves that they were Chilean and Brazilian citizens. He went to the border and found all of those just littered at the border. So all the evidence is there that they are not refugees. They are migrants just trying to, get the American dream at your expense, by the way. So I bring all that back to say, Governor Greg Abbott, I've talked about him before. I know that Texas is in a tough situation. If I were to go to Texas right now and interview people and ask them, what do you think about Greg Abbott? I think most people would say that they loved him. But the reasons why makes me really kind of I don't know. I just don't get it. Because on one hand, yes, he has been strong on, the abortion issue, election integrity. He had those two bills, right? But as it relates to the border, he could be stronger, a lot stronger. Like, stop looking to the federal government, stop looking to FEMA. They're not going to help you out because it's not part of the agenda. If you're truly America first, you need to throw everything you have at the southern border. It's not just me calling it out. Even Tucker Carlson was calling it out. Tucker Carlson mentioned it. He's been talking about it too. Like, Greg Abbott seems like a nice guy, but where is he at as it relates to the border? Why isn't he doing more? Why isn't he doing enough? Why is he reaching out to the federal government when the federal government and Biden, they're not going to help? I mean, it's one thing if you talk about we're building a wall, but you need to actually build the wall. I mean, Texas could shore up their border if he threw more resources at it, more troops. It just seems like this is bad for the country. And I'm going to tell you one thing. Let's play a little game here. Let's play a little game of flip-flop. All right. Let's pretend for a second that Ron DeSantis was the governor of Texas and Greg Abbott was the governor of Florida. Let's start with the 2020 sickness and the response to that. Ron DeSantis never locked down Florida. He didn't close businesses. He didn't close churches. He didn't close schools. He left it up to the counties. He said the counties and local municipalities know how to handle their constituents. They know what's best for their area. I'm going to take a hands-off approach, which in theory, that was the correct approach. But when you saw what actually happened as a result, the liberal areas locked down super hard and made it really difficult on people there. And so after that, he lifted the orders. He let businesses open to he did a phase of reopening. And I remember protesting, actually, like, freedom doesn't come in phases. You just need to open up. He did that early on. That was like May. And Florida has been open ever since. Now, if he had done that in Texas, that would be an upgrade from what they got, because Greg Abbott actually issued a mask mandate in May of 2020 and didn't lift it until March of 2021. He did lock down businesses. He did issue a stay-at-home order, even though he didn't want to call it a stay-at-home order. I have it highlighted here. Business closures, mask mandates were in the early months, and he began reopening with limitations May of 2020, only to pause those efforts next month because of surge in cases and then the mask mandate. So he lifted the mask mandate this year in March, nearly a year after DeSantis, and then patted himself on the back like, hey, I did a good job. I let you have freedom again, when in reality shouldn't have overstepped that boundary in the first place. And to DeSantis's credit, he said he all but apologized for the measures that he did take. So that's just good governance right there. He sets the example for good governance. And same thing with him pushing back on the Biden administration, where Florida's actually suing the Biden administration for they're taking legal action for ignoring federal immigration law. And we're not even on the border. We sent National Guard troops down to Texas. So I'm just saying, like, Greg Abbott, I get it. Texas, that's probably the best that you can do right now. But I think Texas could do better. I honestly do. And I know it's a tough situation because Trump endorsed this man in June of this year, which I think is way too early. When you've got other contenders, you've got other people that are running against him, like Allen West, Chad Prather. I don't know if he has a real shot, but Allen West seems like a solid replacement for Governor Abbott. And I didn't even know this. Governor Abbott has been in office since like 2014. So he's actually running for a third term. I didn't know this. I don't know if Texas has term limits or what, but that's kind of crazy. I'm just saying, Texas, y'all can do better. I mean, he's all right. He's got the Trump endorsement. He's got the money, the fundraising. So he's probably the best that y'all can do. He's probably actually got the best chance to win. And I suppose at the end of the day, a Republican is better than any Democrat, right? I mean, or any Republican is better than a Democrat. And you got Beto O'Rourke trying to run. So it's possible that if somebody were to primary Abbott and succeed, that they could get crushed by Beto O'Rourke, especially because they don't have the Trump endorsement. And this would be assuming that they could defeat Abbott in a primary. They don't have the Trump endorsement. They may not have the fundraising. The people may not know who they are. So it could be very difficult. But I just think, man, right now, and I've been saying this for a while, I think the top priorities are election integrity, border security for sure, and of course, medical tyranny, but also weeding out rhinos and people that are just weak. I mean, at the very most, I'll just say this so that it's not just me just dragging Greg Abbott. He just needs to be more conservative. He needs to be more America first and a little less politician-y. I get a little bit of politician-y vibes from him. I know that's probably not a word, but I'm sure you could understand what I'm saying. All right. He is a little bit too politician-y for my taste. And because Texas is a border state and what happens in Texas could affect the rest of the country, I have a vested interest in how things go on there. Okay. That's why I've been paying close attention to everything going on in Texas. It just feels like he's not doing enough to secure the border. Like, how long have you known that people were crossing the border illegally? You've been in office since 2014. It just feels like this is reactionary. Now let's get the National Guard down there. Now let's ask FEMA for help. I mean, build the freaking wall. In this article, I don't want to read the entire article, but it's a very interesting article that just came out, and it's titled Pandemic Politics Fuel Long Shot Republican Challenges to Texas Governor Greg Abbott. So in the article, it talks about Allen West and some other people challenging him, and they feel like the Trump endorsement was premature and that Trump is partial to him because they're friends, but that doesn't necessarily mean he's the right man for the job. And they talk about how, at the very least, he needs to be more America first. He needs to put the state of Texas first. He's done some good things. He did reopen, albeit way too late, and wanted to brag about it. But then he also, I forgot about this, demonized Gab as an anti-Semitic social media platform. So right off top, that was one of the first things that caught my attention. Demonizing Gab for being anti-Semitic. I mean, it's social media. It's where people talk. How can the platform be anti-Semitic? It's just a platform for people to talk. And in the wake of all this censorship, how are you going to throw a alternative social media platform under the bus? It just didn't make any sense to me. It made me not trust him. That was one of the few things, not few things, but quite a few things that made me suspicious of his governance. And I know people in Texas, some people are going to downvote and be really upset. Like, I can't believe you're saying these things. I'm only saying it because it's true. And I'm saying what I think, based on what I've seen, that Texas could do a lot better. So I'll move on from that. I mean, you got this border crisis that is going to be ongoing. You've got another caravan of about 40,000 people about to show up. Another 40,000 people about to show up to the border. And who knows how many of them are going to get in? Who knows? I mean, we got the situation where the Border Patrol can't patrol on horses, and the whole thing is a mess. I know it's not one person's fault, but I think you need a Ron DeSantis is what I'm getting at. You need a Ron DeSantis or Kristi Noem, somebody that's going to be much more tough with their policy. All right. I'm moving through this quickly. Now, this story right here, all right. U.S. Marine who saved a baby at Kabul airport is now under investigation for appearing on stage with Trump at a recent rally in Georgia. So, Hunter Clark is reportedly under investigation by the U.S. military for partisan political activity. So you got somebody who's locked up for criticizing and asking for accountability from the U.S. military. And now you've got somebody under, I think he's a captain, CPL. I think Lance CPL. I don't know what that means. Somebody can tell me. Anyway, he's under investigation for partisan political activity. Well, what did he say? Because Trump brought him up on stage. I was there. What did he say that is considered partisan political activity?
Hey, my name's Lance Corporal Hunter Clark. I'm here from Warner Robins, Georgia. I am the guy that pulled the baby over the wall, and it's definitely probably one of the greatest things I've ever done in my entire life.
No, he obviously said a little bit more than that, but what's the problem with this? I see zero issue with this. First of all, he lives in Georgia. Second of all, he can do what the hell he wants. If he wants to go to a Trump rally, he can go to a Trump rally. Nobody would say anything about this if he wore a Biden t-shirt or something. If he took a selfie with Biden, nobody would have anything to say about this, but he's under investigation now. So we'll see what comes of it. This could just be some clickbaity thing. It could just be a nothing burger. But the fact that we already know that people like Mark Milley will not resign, won't face any accountability for his actions, but they're throwing somebody in jail and going to make an example out of them for rightfully criticizing Milley and the people who botched that withdrawal from Afghanistan. They're investigating people who criticize it. Again, military purge. This is more of the military purge, purging from the intelligence agency, purging from the hospitals, the medical industry. They're purging everybody who would be seen as a dissident. Oh, you went on stage because Trump invited him up there. Trump invited him up on the stage. First of all, he's a hero. He pulled a baby over the wall. He saved a baby's life. Something that I know that certain people on the left, they don't really care much about that. But he saved a baby's life. So off top, he's a hero for saving a child's life. Pulling a baby over a wall, that's just, man, that's crazy. And there speaks volumes. I could talk for a long time about what that means. That's like symbolic. So he's a hero off top. He got invited up on stage. You could tell he was emotional about the entire situation being acknowledged because nobody else acknowledged him for it. You won't see Biden give him a medal or anything. And now he's going to be investigated for partisan political activity. Well, the investigation of him is partisan political activity because, like I said, if it were Biden, if he went to an Obama rally, nobody would have anything to say about it. Ridiculous. This purge of the military, Biden, this regime that's in the White House, they've waged a war on the military, on law enforcement, on taxpayers, on diabetics. The list goes on and on, man. The American worker, children. This president sniffing people. This guy is such a disgrace to our country, such an embarrassment. People that voted for him bury their heads in the sand. They want nothing to do with a conversation about the way he's governing this country. I would love to debate somebody that's super pro-Biden. I would love it. Bring it on. I highly doubt that anybody will step forward. That's it. That's all I got for today. I had to keep it light and airy, safe topics for YouTube. Safe, very safe, super safe. So I'm going to be wrapping here soon, but I appreciate everybody for tuning in today. Make sure you give it a thumbs up. Make sure you share it. Make sure that you are subbed to the backup channel, the second channel. Type in Mike Nificent 813 and let's get it done. Sub to that channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single stream because you never know. Depending on what topics there are to cover, I may not live stream on this one. It may be on the second channel. Thank you for the super chat, Norm. Appreciate you. Is there any topic that I have not covered or that I should cover? Or you want me to elaborate on? I know people just tuned in, so some people. So, I mean, the best thing to do is to rewind to the beginning to see the topics I covered at the beginning. Not a lot of hard-hitting stuff today. I mean, it's just going to be like that sometimes. Which is why I say it's safe for this channel. Very safe. Sally says, read the Bible. It tells us what's happening. I mean, it very much feels like we're in the end times. I mean, I remember being a kid going to church, and they would say back then that we were in the end times, and I used to get scared. I used to be like, well, as a kid, I'm like, well, the world's about to end. Like all the stuff I'm reading about in Revelations is about to happen now. I mean, they've always said that, but no man can predict the day or hour. But it's never felt more like we are in the end times than now. I mean, just the rise in spiritual activity, the negativity in our country, you felt a shift. A shift happened last year, at the beginning of last year, started before the election. There was a shift, and then we saw so much negativity, and it's just accelerated. And there's no going back from here. I don't see everything returning to normal. We're not going to get as lucky as Norway. We're not going to get to go back to 2019. But at the end of the day, in the end, evil will not prevail. Evil will be destroyed. That's why the wicked one is lashing out right now. That's why you have so much evil in the world right now. They're trying to claim souls. They've launched a war on your mind, on your body, and on your soul. Got something to say to Mike? Mike's email, MikeNificent813@gmail.com. I always forget about that, my email. And I do have people that email me articles like pretty much all day, and it's super helpful so I can see what's going on because there's a lot of news going on. And I try to be strategic in what I pick. Even if it's a day like this, it's like there wasn't a whole lot that I could talk about that I felt was new, at least from the research that I did. But normal days, there's a lot of topics. I'm like, man, there's a lot of things I could cover. I can only even put so much in the headline to try to draw people in. So I'm grateful for the people that do email me articles and videos and stuff like that. Sometimes it's a little overwhelming to go through, but I try to be strategic in what I cover. Rachel says, I'm glad everything happened. I would still be watching CNN. And that's the thing too, is like a lot of what has happened, a lot of what continues to happen is good in a sense that it awakens more people. It boggles my mind that people are already awake from what happened at the beginning of 2020. Everything that took place all the way up until now, people still haven't awakened. I mean, they are so far into the matrix that you have to wonder if they'll ever come out. Like, how do you not see this? But I mean, it is what it is. If it has to get much worse than this for people to wake up, then good. But I also understand some people are not going to wake up. Some people don't even think anything is wrong. Some people actually think, and that these are the useful idiots. These are the people that unfortunately they're just victims. They're subjected to their propaganda brainwashing, and they think all of their problems can be blamed on a group of people, when in reality, it is at the top power structure of the US government, of the multinational corporations, of these global bureaucracies, of these big wealthy billionaires that meet in private every year. They're the ones that are doing this. But they just think that there's a handful of people, more than a handful of people, that think it's right-wing conspiracy theorists, science deniers, Trump supporters, right-wing extremists. They got all these terms to label people. I mean, that's why you got people snitching on their neighbors, and it's getting really, really creepy. That's why I feel like, how do people not see it? How do people not see that lines have been drawn in the sand? You're either on the side of planetary freedom, human freedom, or you're on the side of total tyranny, control, and domination. But that's all I can really say about it. Dividing sheep from goats. Is that what it is? I would say sheep from wolves, because I'm not a sheep. Actually, the correct word is separating the sheep from the goats. I've never heard that before, actually. All they have is identity politics. Yeah, they do. They do. It's identity politics. It's intersectionality. The more intersectional you are, the more insulated you are from criticism, and you're part of a special victim class, and you're oppressed, and there's ultimately virtue in being oppressed. There's like virtue in being a victim, which is why you have hate crime hoaxes. I know there's another hate crime hoax that happened at a school with like racist graffiti. I mean, it's because people are being taught that they are victims, and if they find themselves in a situation, even if they have to manufacture it, there is some kind of currency in it. You know, you'll be elevated, you'll be acknowledged, you'll be recognized. What they've done is given people a low self-esteem, a low sense of self-worth. And so therefore they kind of have a nihilistic worldview, and they're not happy. And the only way to get somewhere is to struggle. It's like a struggle against something. It's a constant struggle. The sky has to always be falling so that they can validate their worth. I'm not trying to psychoanalyze, but kind of, sort of. Struggling against something, and a system, an artificial system that they feel is keeping them down, keeping them from realizing their full potential. So they feel validated in their struggle against reality. This is why you have such a crazy like trans movement identifying as unicorns, and sometimes people misgender me, and the world needs to change. Everyone on earth needs to change to accommodate my new pronoun. That is so like wrong. It's so wrong, so backwards. People who think that way are going to live a long, unhappy life. Why hasn't the world changed to fit who I am? That's not how it works. It never has. It never will. The world needs to conform to one person. I'm sorry. I'm not doing it. Never going to do it. Doesn't mean I hate people. Doesn't mean I'm going to disrespect them. But I'm not changing everything about the way that I know the world is. I'm not going to circumvent science and truth for the sake of someone's feelings so that they can feel validated because they've been told that that's the way things have to be. You have to struggle against reality, struggle against truth, struggle against science. I'm not on board with that. I just went on a wild tangent there, but I just feel like it's a good way to wrap. I just think that the world is in such a dark place, such a collapsed, fallen state that, you know, the light is what will bring us out of it. And it's always darkest before the dawn. I know that's like a cliche statement, but it's kind of true. We're in a dark place. We're basically at rock bottom. There's only one way to go once you hit rock bottom. So I'll wrap on that note. I hope that everybody enjoyed today's stream. I'll be back tomorrow. What's tomorrow? Friday. So tomorrow, I think I'm going to aim for an evening stream. I'm not sure what time yet. Actually, I know it's probably going to be an evening stream because I got to do a lot of errands tomorrow. So it's probably going to be evening. Like, I don't know. I'm not sure what time yet, but hopefully you guys are available. I'm sure somebody will be available. I got all these subscribers. But I want to try to do that on Fridays. Friday evenings, I think, are a good time. The one day out of the week where I can do an evening stream. And maybe it'll be more of a freestyle. I just go live and just take questions. It would be nice to figure out how to do the call-in thing. If I can do a call-in show where I just have people call in and we just shoot the breeze, maybe even I'll get lucky and have someone call in and try to debate me on a topic. I would love it. I would happily welcome it. But yeah, appreciate everybody for tuning in today. God bless you. Make sure you like, share, subscribe. Make sure you find my second channel and subscribe to it. Hit the bell notification. Just search Mike Nificent 813 and it'll pop right up. God bless everybody. God bless the moderators. Thank you for the super chats. I'll catch you guys in the next stream.